Welcome to Battle Rankings podcast. Today I'm joined by JB Cedarberg, and we're going to do the last of our interview with the Masters. Um, would you like to say anything before we get started?
Well, nothing really.
We'll talk about it in the interview. So what first got you interested in Flames of War and Team Yankee?
So what first got me interested in was when I was playing Flames of War and I heard about other people in our group playing Team Yankee and they didn't have a ton of people. And we were super interested in it, and so we decided, that sounds kind of fun. Why don't we do that? And then it got, honestly, I'd say a little more fun, but I got interested real fast.
All right. So how long have you been playing Flames of War and Team Yankee?
So Flames of War, I played about 4 years. Team Yankee, I played about 2, approaching 3 here soon.
Okay, so you are by far the least experienced player of everyone that I've interviewed for this series, should we call it? So far, which I'm excited to hear from. I'm excited to hear what you say. What's your favorite armies to play?
So for Flames of War, my favorite army is probably Russia, because that's the first army I ever played, and I still do. And then for Team Yankee, it's West Germans, because that's the only army I have, so that's what I go with.
That's okay. West Germans are always a safe bet.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, John plays them all the time, so I'm assuming it's a safe bet.
Okay.
And then what's influenced your play style?
This may sound stupid, but it is 100% trying to beat my dad.
Hey, I know your dad's been playing a while. That's a solid influence. So how many times have you qualified for Masters?
So I've gone to 4 Masters.
Okay.
Qualified 2 times, but I was coming along and then got put in because people got kicked out. Or not kicked out, but they weren't able to come, so I got put in instead. And that happened to this one, but not the last one.
Okay, so you were like 17, something like that.
17th, and then got put in.
Okay. Hey, you still got the invite.
Yep.
What was your initial reaction of receiving the invite?
I was really excited. I didn't expect it though. I was coming along for this tournament to be the ringer, just in case someone didn't show up like that.
Yeah.
And I was super surprised that I even got invited.
All right, so originally just ringer, and then you're just like, oh wait, I'm actually competing.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, all worth it. That's
100%.
Great. So what was your expectations for the tournament then?
I was expecting to do a little better than I did last time at last Team Yankee.
Okay.
I did actually do a little better than I expected, and I was kind of proud of that.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit. And then, so the McGuffin, with the McGuffin rule having a designated large tank unit, plus only 1 infantry platoon being allowed. How'd you feel about those rules?
It was different than I expected. The fact I'm usually playing Martyr 2s as a basic list, but it was different only having to play with tanks and 1 unit of infantry.
Mm-hmm.
And I was using the 2A5s, which are quite a few points.
Yeah.
It really affected a lot of things because I wasn't expecting many things to kill them, and somehow they did.
Yeah, for sure. And then how did those rules impact your list building?
So the amount of points that my McGuffin unit was so many. It was over half my points on my list. It was 51 points for 3 tanks. It was 100% worth it. So
Well,
I
that's
already could tell
good. That's good.
that.
What was your MacGuffin unit?
It was the Leopard 2A5s.
Okay. Okay, and so then you had the Leopard 2A5s plus what else?
So I had a formation of Leo 1s.
Okay.
I had some Jaguar 1s.
Okay.
And then some Gepards. A single unit of infantry. It was the smallest unit of infantry I've ever seen. It was 3 bases, because why not?
I hope there was some killing power there.
Hey, they survived every game, okay?
That's impressive. You must have had Rambo leading them.
Apparently. Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
Okay, nice. So West Germans then?
Yep.
Any other nations supporting you, or just West Germans
Just
all
pure
around?
West Germans.
Okay. And then what lessons did you apply to your list building and strategy?
So my list, I didn't bring any artillery, and I may have regretted that. So I learned I probably need some of that. And I probably should have bigger infantry units, because that was also a bad idea.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to kill people when you're
Super
easily
small.
killed.
Yes.
Yeah. And then how did you study for masters?
So I built my list. So when I studied for it, I double checked everyone's lists, and I practiced against my dad and Nathan and a whole bunch of other people copying the lists to play against.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot of them, and a little practice made it a little easier to understand.
Okay, so not so much shock when going to the event.
No.
Okay.
The lists were.
Okay. So how did your list perform compared to your expectations?
It performed, I would say, better than I expected.
Okay.
So I expected the 2A5s to die in a second.
Yeah.
But with their armor of 22, they did not. They only died one time.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess I was really surprised.
And then who were your matchups?
I know I played John Meyer once.
Okay.
And then I played, really can't remember.
It's fine. Do you remember any your most challenging matchup?
I would probably say it was actually against John Meyer.
Okay.
It was really challenging. Just because the stuff he had made it super hard to do anything.
Yes, he did obsess over that list.
I know.
A lot. I had to deal with it.
Have fun with that?
I had tons of fun with it. He was just bouncing between lists, and yeah, it's an interesting time dealing with somebody who he takes a lot of pride in his lists.
Yeah.
And then what lessons did you learn from masters? You talked about accounting for artillery, for tanks, or anti-air, whatever else. What else?
I learned that I need to be more careful with my movement of my units, because usually I put them out in the open or move too fast and they end up dying, and then I can't defend a corner and I lose via that corner.
Yeah.
So I learned to stay back a little bit and hide my stuff better and try to finesse it.
Okay. What lessons did you learn from math? Or not, I'm sorry, I just read that one. How did your opponents impact your strategy?
So my opponent, it really depended on what list I was playing against. So per se, they had no aircraft in their list. I would take my anti-aircraft out as a difference for reserves. I would also depend if I wanted spearhead or not, depending on what they had also. And usually who I played against, it didn't really matter, because I wasn't really going to change my play style based on who it was.
Okay. Okay. Did anything happen that you weren't expecting to happen, and how did you deal with it?
So what I did not expect was Heinz to come flying over and destroy my 2A5s within 2 minutes.
I
And
do remember. I forget who brought the Heinz, but I do remember them.
yeah, so he killed my Gepards within 2 turns via artillery. And then the next turn, he flew in his Heinz to shoot my 2A5s, and then kind of all went downhill from there.
How many rounds did that one last?
I think 4 or 5.
Oh, okay. So not a bad game.
No, not bad.
Okay, I didn't know if it was just like a 3-round
No, I didn't get beat that.
thing, and then you're just like, oops. And then how did you finish the tournament?
I think I ended in somewhere around 14th.
Okay.
It wasn't too bad.
How did you finish your first Masters tournament?
The first Masters tournament, I came in dead last.
Okay, so an improvement for sure.
Very little.
Were there any new faces there that you haven't seen at Masters before?
Not really. I think I've seen them all before there.
Okay.
Most of them.
You might have been the new face at Masters.
Oh, I was at the last Team Yankee Masters.
Okay. What would you tell someone going to Masters for the first time or aspiring to go to Masters?
I would say it's way different than you'd expect it to be. And don't be so stressed out about it, because that usually hurts your play. And when you start playing, you'd expect it to be a little easier, and then you start realizing everyone there is really, really good at it. So you're not going to expect to finish up high, because they're all probably going to beat you.
And then, if somebody wants to go to Masters, and they're still working on that, what would you say?
I'd say if you are aspiring to go to Masters, I would say if you keep practicing and you keep going to a lot of tournaments, you'll probably make it. But you got to finish kind of high in the tournaments. And that's what I got.
Oh, no worries. And then what would you tell someone just starting out with Team Yankee and Flames of War that are kind of just flirting with playing the game yet?
So it's such a fun game, and it doesn't have to be taken so competitively when you're starting to play off with. And you don't need to do that. Also, it is filled with such great people, and everyone there is so nice, and they'll all mostly help you, and it's not that hard once you get used to it.
Yeah. So the intent of this interview was so that the audience could hear you all listening, you beautiful people, could hear the thoughts and the experiences of new people or new voices, not necessarily the SMEs that are brought onto the show. And so that new players have the opportunity to hear from new voices like JB. And you said you've only played about 2 to 4 years for them, both of them?
Team Yankee 2, Flames of War 4 years.
Yeah, and then you're still in high school, right?
I just graduated this year.
Okay, you just graduated this year. Okay, I wasn't sure. I saw a snazzy picture of, I didn't know if it was homecoming or prom or what it was.
My prom photo.
Oh, that's your prom photo? I just
Yeah,
saw that. I'm just like, oh, that's a nice suit.
it is.
So you're fresh out of high school and just living life now, I'm sure.
Yep, I got college starting here in about 12, 13 days.
Oh, that's exciting.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Um, so this is really a game for anyone, and you can always learn something from the game, whether it's sportsmanship or strategy. Um, and any experienced player will be able to tell you that. Uh, I'm sure JB, what would you say? Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Who would you recommend this game to?
Uh, I would say probably to veterans or people who are part of the military. I would say it'd be a pretty good fit for them, or anyone really, as long as they like model games.
It's a slippery slope into it. You start out with painting or just like coming
This
across
model
the
looks kind of
models.
cool, and then you start buying another one. Hey, it's also cool, and buy that one, and then
Yeah,
that
you find a friend that plays the game, and you're just like, oh yeah, I'll do a game with you, and then 6 months later you're at your first tournament.
Yeah, when we first started playing Warhammer, my cousin John Skane, it's like, hey, I've heard this Warhammer game. Let's play this. 3 years later, here goes 20 grand.
How long was it from you first starting playing to your first tournament?
My first tournament, so I started playing because of my dad. I was playing Warhammer, and then he got into Flames because of a free promotional thing.
Oh, okay.
And then I wanted to play it so badly because he quit playing Flame or Warhammer,
Yeah.
and I wanted to play with him. So then after that, I went to my grandma's, came back, and he bought like a massive stack of stuff like this high and called me his test dummy.
I mean, in his defense, it does cost 40K to play Warhammer.
Yes, it does. And then after I got those, I played in my first tournament maybe 3 weeks later.
Okay. So it's like one of those smaller regional tournaments,
Yeah.
like local regional type of things.
Mhm.
Yeah, so definitely a game that into history, into strategy, just want to meet a diverse group of people. I mean, so you're 18,
Yep.
there's a wide there's people my age, which I'm definitely not 18 anymore. And then there's people that have a vast life experience. We'll put it in more flattering terms. So is there anything else you'd like to say before we close out?
As long as you keep practicing, you'll get better.
That is an accurate statement. I can attest to that. I'm not good, but I'm better than I was at first.
You'll get better with practice.
Yes. All right. So like, subscribe, follow, comment, whatever social platform that you're listening to or watching on. Would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Stick around if you enjoyed this. There's always more content to come. Thank you.